Welcome to this week's PTC Talks, where we are honored by having Manan Arora and Jürgen Gläser from Arorian Technologies for a session on Beyond Link and Trace, mastering Windchill and Codebeamer integration for holistic product lifecycle management. But first, as always, a very quick introduction by me, and my name is Torbjörn Peterson, and I'm the Alliance Manager here for PTC, leading these weekly PTC Talks where we invite customers and partners for some inspiration on digital transformation to see what is possible and how to make things happen. And we are running all these webinars on Friday at the same time with topics around either manufacturing, services, or engineering. And all the recordings are to be found on the registration site as well. And the agenda for today's session is first a quick overview of PTC by me, and then Manan and Jürgen will run the presentation where they will touch base on a few challenges, how to address these, and then explain some of the business outcomes. And at the end, we are also having a Q&A session, so please keep your questions to the end. You may also put them in the chat, and we will pick them up later on. Manan, next slide, please.
Sure.
So what about PTC? Well, PTC is a global software company with 40 plus years of innovation and with a headquarters in Boston. And we are having more than 35,000 customers worldwide from industries such as automotive, life science, industrial, aerospace and defense, electronics and high tech, retail and consumer goods. Where PTC offers a suite of solutions to help design product and operate maintenance, all the solutions as well. And more about that a little bit later. And so now over to you, Manan and Jürgen. The show is yours.
Thank you, Torbjörn. So let me go to the next. So welcome to our session on Beyond Link and Trace, Windchill and Codebeamer integration for holistic PLM. And today we are going to explore the advanced integration between ALM and PLM in this context between Windchill and Codebeamer to see how it can help organizations to achieve more or a true synchronization and collaboration across the whole product lifecycle management. So I'm Manan Arora from Arorian Technologies, and with my colleague Jürgen Gläser, we will show you today how we can use this integration for a holistic PLM. Okay. So just a short introduction about Arorian. Arorian is a solution and service provider for industrial digital thread solutions, connecting systems, enabling product lifecycle management. And here you can see we are we have a presence across US, Europe, and Asia, and we help customers solve digital transformation problems and product development challenges. Basically, it's a short intro, and I'll just go to the next slide. Again, our portfolio encompasses the following lifecycle management, application lifecycle, product lifecycle, and service lifecycle. And this helps us also to ensure an integrated digital thread, which we are going to talk a bit today as well. So, as we all know, nowadays, data is transforming industries and driving innovation. So before we begin and dive into this integration of ALM and PLM, let me set the stage with some facts. So by 2025, there will be 50 billion connected devices. There will be 40% of the vehicle content will be software, which already shows the shift towards the software-centric or software-defined vehicles. So, and when I say the vehicle content, I mean including all the hardware, all the components you have inside a car or inside a vehicle. 40% of that comprises of software, and 67% of manufacturers will be leveraging digital thread by 2025. So keeping these things in mind, managing this amount of data isn't just about having a right technology. It's about how we can leverage the power of data flow from requirements, going through the design, going through the manufacturing. So now the question is, how do we harness this power of data flow, basically? And that's where where the concept of digital thread comes in. Okay, so we'll look into what is digital thread, and in a short like an overview of that and how it looks like. I think many of you must have seen this picture before, or this image before. So this image shows an overview of a unified digital thread. So digital thread is a buzzword that you guys have been hearing a lot, but in general, digital thread is a communication framework that connects data, processes across the entire product lifecycle management. So in this case, when we are talking about the whole product lifecycle management, we are talking about going from requirement, going to concept, going to design, manufacturing, and then providing a real-time access to the data. So this illustrates how this slide illustrates the concept of unified digital thread, where we have different systems connected, as you can see in this image. When it comes to product development, that we are starting with the customer requirements and going through the chain of here operations and so on. So, but for today's talk or today's presentation, we'll focus only on the product development part of it. That means which has two critical components to it, PLM and ALM. So PLM manages basically the, as we know, the hardware part, the physical design, and ALM governs the software development or the application changes. And connecting these two, hardware and the software side, is what we are going to talk about in detail more. So now that we understand how digital thread looks like and how the concept of digital thread is, let's have a deeper look into the ALM and PLM integration. Okay. So when it comes to achieve an effective ALM and PLM integration, we have introduced what we call it as a 3C framework. So 3C means, as the name says, 3 Cs. So first C being the connectivity. Connectivity is what lays the foundation by linking the data and the systems. So for example, if we are now talking about connectivity between software and hardware, then we are talking more about how the information can move freely between software and hardware. That means in our case, for example, Windchill and Codebeamer, and how the information or the linking between these two systems is, how the systems are connected. And as we know from the out-of-the-box DPT solution that we already have in Codebeamer and in Windchill using OSLC, we have this foundation. So the foundation for connectivity is already covered with the out-of-the-box DPT, what we have. And now we will look into the second key. While the connectivity is essential because it creates the foundational link between Codebeamer and Windchill, but there are two other C's that are more important on top of it. So to realize the true value, when we move beyond connectivity to a more advanced integration, we need to think about the second C in that framework, which we call it collaboration. So basically, collaboration is much more than just linking systems. Okay, it's more about bridging the software with hardware, bridging both the teams working together and sharing information with each other. This is where we have all the advanced cases. So not only just linking the systems, but synchronizing the processes, synchronizing the workflows that we have between software and hardware. Okay, so for example, think about it. You are working on a product that has, nowadays all the products are software driven. So you have software part of it, hardware part of it. And one of the examples of this collaboration could be or would be an automated change management. So when there's a change in the mechanical design in the PLM system, a corresponding task or delegate should be sent to the software team in the ALM in that case, so that they know that there has been a change and they need to work on it, so that both the hardware team and the software teams are informed about the change management or about the change that is going to happen. So these kind of alignments between the software and hardware team, this is not restricted to only change management. It could be, for example, your test management, testing software and hardware. It could be release management, which could be having different releases for the software than for the hardware. So all these together constitutes to the second C, as we call it, collaboration. Okay. So the third C, what we have is what we call compliance. So compliance is, once we have defined all the use cases that we have, the advanced use cases, what we just talked about, like change management, test management, release management. After that, we focus on that critical aspect, which is this compliance. And as the products become complex, we have software products now with I don't know, 50 million lines of codes in some of these automotive vehicles. So all these products that we are using, they're getting complex day by day, and we need to make sure that we compliance with some of the industry standards and regulations. So this is where the ALM and PLM integration plays a key role. So compliance ensures that your processes are not only efficient, because that we have with collaboration, we have with connectivity, but they also assure that they are audit ready. So all the people that are coming from a regulated industry nowadays, for example, if you have automotive, medtech, aerospace, and many other, you know that audit is something that we need to also make sure that our products that we are making or the processes are audit ready, and it should provide an end-to-end traceability across different systems. And in this case, ALM and PLM, maybe generating automatically compliance reports, validating requirements, testing, and all those things, they belong to the compliance part of our integration process. So just as a recap, we have introduced this 3C framework, which we normally use with our customers when we are talking about digital thread or traceability. And it is with connectivity, collaboration, and compliance. These are the 3Cs. So connectivity, we talked about it already, which is we already have it as of now today with using ThingWorx Flow, OSLC, and then we can connect Windchill with Codebeamer, or for that example, a lot of other systems as well. And collaboration, we just talked about, and compliance. So I would now like to show quickly how this collaboration can really look like if it's implemented actually. So if you see here we have a workflow, or you can say a workflow or a flow of the task, or how the flow between ALM or PLM could look like. So this is just as an example which we have used already while we were combining or integrating Windchill with Codebeamer. So this gives an overview, and it also explores all the 3Cs that we just talked about before. So this workflow begins with capturing the requirements. Okay, the requirements that we have, as you can see, they are coming from the OEM, and then we are managing them in ALM. So it could be different for different use cases or different scenarios, but generally we start with the requirements domain, and then we are going or moving through the design. Then we go through the development, then we go through testing, and at the end, we are in the release phase. If you can see at the end, we have this release at the end. And this integrated approach helps us manage complex product data, streamline processes, and maintain consistency between hardware and software. So, which is PLM and ALM in this case. So, and there are some of those integration points between both of them. Okay, so we talked about those things like automated change management. We talked about test management and release management. So integrated between both ALM and PLM. So there are similarly many integration points, what I would say, between hardware and software, which needs to be synchronized in the processes to have advantage out of the integration of ALM and PLM, which is going much beyond the connectivity, the normal connectivity, normal tracing, where we know that, hey, I can search an object, I can link it, but now we are going into more synchronized processes. Okay. This image or this slide shows an overview of what we just talked about for the different use cases or different integration use cases that we have between Windchill and Codebeamer. And as you can see on the left-hand side, here we have the link and trace OSLC. That this is what I talked about before, that this is there out of the box today. We can use ThingWorx Flow, connect Windchill and Codebeamer, create traces, search for items. And on the right-hand side, you see these integrated use cases, which we also kind of, talked about a bit. So this is a summary of what use cases we have when we are going beyond link and trace on the right-hand side. And there are many of them. So I have noted the major ones that are right now people have, the most common, I would say, that are going on right now if you are developing software-driven products, basically. All right, so let me move to the next one. So I will keep to the change management, what we talk about, and we'll see quickly a short video how change management, for example, or an integrated change management between Windchill and Codebeamer could look like. And I'll just have a look so that you can see. So it's a short video about how these things. Oh, sorry. Give me a second. Oh, there is something. Okay. So I think maybe we need to send the link to that video somehow. I'm not able to see that video in this. Yeah, there's a short video we prepared between link and trace and how this looks like between Windchill and Codebeamer, basically. And so let me explain you just how this first part, what we talked about, how this change management is. So for example, you start your change request directly in Windchill, and from Windchill you create your change request. That change request, we have developed it that way that when you create a task, there's a change in the software. It will send a delegated task to the Codebeamer, basically. So that means now we are involving the ALM team or the software team into the change management. And then they need to work on that ALM task. And as soon as they close their task, so for example, they make some changes in the software, they see, hey, I have got a task which is related to that change request. And they make those changes to that change request and work on that task. And as soon as they close that task, the software team, the task goes back to Windchill, again to the PLM team, so that the workflow can continue to the next step. So I hope I'm able to, you guys can understand what I'm saying. So that way, we have a really integrated change management involving both software team and hardware team in one workflow. And maybe after this, we can send a link to that video or a short video where you can see how the integration looks like. I guess I'll just, and while we are working on that, so how we did that. So all the use cases that I mentioned before, like the change management, advanced document management, test management, release management between ALM and PLM. So we have been doing that for some of our customers in medtech as well as in automotive. And for that, normally we always, so we are using three things basically. So what we need if we want to go with that kind of, integration. So the most important things are, first of all, we need to have a clear strategy. Okay. We need to have a integration process, like we should be defining our process, how it should look like. And the third thing is we need a tool, a digital thread platform that can help us support that kind of integrations. So in our case, we have been using something that we developed over a couple of years now, which is called AeroTrace. And this is how it's an overview of the platform. It's a digital thread platform designed to enhance traceability and collaboration across the product lifecycle. So with AeroTrace, we were able to enable, or we were able to help customers have a seamless transition traceability across different systems. So it's not only about now ALM and PLM. ALM and PLM is the main focus, but in any organization you would go, there are other tools that are kind of integrating with the overall digital thread, which needs to be linked, needs to be traced. So it could be like your ERP system where you are getting information about some of the costing and on other different kind of things. So integrating all those things, all those systems, and creating a traceability across that. So for that, we were using AeroTrace. And again, if you remember, I talked about the 3 C's, right? Connectivity, collaboration, and compliance. So these are the 3 C's that we have already enabled in AeroTrace. So, that we can connect between systems, we can collaborate through synchronized processes, and we can take care of the compliance through, the whole traceability, compliance reporting, and different tools. So just as an overview, so that you can get an idea of that, these are right now the available connectors that, or I would say the connectors that we are using and the systems that we are connecting into one platform. And these systems can interact with each other. We can create traces through the whole chain of the product lifecycle using those systems and even with custom systems. And then we can generate compliance reports on that. We can have a unified change management across different systems. We can have a unified test management. So all those kind of things we are able to cover with this platform. So this is what we used for some medtech and automotive customers. So but the whole idea behind the digital thread is, like I said, things like defining the strategy behind that, defining your processes for integration, and then comes some tool to develop that. So maybe now I think I'd like to give it over to Jürgen to kind of show that how our approach is, or how a recommended approach while you are developing a strategy or you're looking into how digital thread could look for your organization. So Jürgen, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Manan. Good. So like Manan said, and I guess it is understandable to every one of you. So digital thread as a whole, and especially traceability and synchronization between systems, is a very complex topic, and not every customer already is involved in these discussions or at the end in depth discussions. So what we try to develop is some kind of consultancy process in this area to support the customers with these needs and define an understanding where traceability or synchronization between systems would make sense. So what we basically try to achieve or do first is make a system landscape analysis of a customer. So we try to get a status of the as-is digital thread of ALM, PLM, but also ERP and other systems, so that we have an understanding which systems are in use by the customers. Is already traceability some way activated in any of these areas, or is it even a new area of that? Then we try to make a process optimization workshop with business and IT units of the customer, first to give a deep understanding of potential use cases. Manan explained them before, the potential use cases where traceability and synchronization would make sense, and also to get an understanding for the customer where the customer himself would understand or see the benefits of traceability or synchronization between systems, because it's not just ALM and PLM. Customers are using other systems like Jira or even Azure DevOps recently, and even these make sense to connect. So it makes sense to get a understanding out of that. Once this is done, we try to create a traceability roadmap to the customer. So to showcase, let's say, some kind of steps taken, which are, let's say, more easily to reach, and which could be a general strategy overall. And based on this roadmap, we are trying to design a potential concept or solutions how to get there. Yeah, so some functionalities are available out of the box by PTC with OSLC. Some enhanced functionalities can be created with ThingWorx. Some more deeper integrations with the enhanced use cases, we might need the AeroTrace platform. We try to generate this to the customer and discuss this. and based on steps customer would like to take, we would define some kind of implementation approach, which could start with a proof of concept or POC phase to, let's say, prove some kind of solutions or align the system and integration with other PLM and ALM strategies. So overall, it is a complex topic, but it is an important topic which needs lots of consultancy. So we are trying to support in these areas with services and solutions. Yeah. Manan, do you want to recap?
Okay. Yeah. Sure. So basically, yeah, I think you summarized it pretty well. So these are, like I always said, and before also I mentioned, it's all about not just about the tool, it's about the whole process behind it, the strategy behind it before creating that digital thread in your organization, especially if you are working on with ALM and PLM, because ALM and PLM is basically the backbone of digital thread. Because we are talking about, the initial stages from concept, from requirements, and then developing the product, the design. So that's the one of the like I say that it's like the backbone of the digital thread when you are building that strategy. So yeah, so I think with that we are through that presentation. I think then we have so if you have any questions.
Yeah, please go ahead, and thank you, Manan and Jürgen, for sharing a lot of great stuff here. So as I said, let's open up for questions, and I think we had some questions already in the chat, and please still post some questions there. We had one about, is ThingWorx Flow mandatory for this integration, or is there any kind of alternatives?
Okay. So I would really say it's a very good question. So someone who has already worked with that, no, for that integration, we don't need ThingWorx Flow, because ThingWorx Flow is basically what it is doing is for the major connectivity. If you, it's just creating as an OSLC client, but we don't need ThingWorx Flow for process synchronization.
Thank you, Manan. And I had another question here also. With all your experience, what's the biggest obstacle organizations face when integrating ALM and PLM, and how do you recommend overcoming it?
So the biggest obstacle, what we often face, is the disconnection between the processes. The data across, for example, the hardware and the software teams, it's completely disconnected. And there are so many manual things going on, and because there are different systems. And even if they can, if some, organizations have achieved the connectivity, but it's to a level which helps them, but it's still not an integrated approach. So disconnection between the processes, I would say, is the major obstacle. And to overcome, what we suggest is always to have a clear definition of the integration strategy. So because the process, if you have your ALM process and PLM process, you cannot say, hey, then I can integrate it. I have both of them. No, you have to define your integration strategy, an integrated process between ALM and PLM. And that's what kind of, help overcome this disconnection between the processes.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And I think we had another question here. Is your AutoTrace solution described anywhere on your website? Do you have any videos, etc.?
So yes, so basically, I think what we can do is, everyone in this group, we have an ebook as well, and we also have on our website. So we can also put in the on-demand session the links to the some demo videos as well as to some ebooks that we have prepared for that over the time.
I posted a link into the chat. So I posted a link to the website of AutoTrace into the chat. And there you will also find links to the documents, so you can click on that.
One other question was, which industry from these advanced integration scenarios between ALM and PLM?
So most likely the industries that are in a regulated environment, right? So these are, for example, medtech, automotive, aerospace, and to some extent also some consumer electronics that we are also working with, that they also have some requirements on that. So just as a side note on all these things, what these industries, and some of them, they have to show from the sustainability point of view or the circular economy, what something called digital product passport. And this digital product passport is what we are leveraging AeroTrace for. So once we have all the systems integrated, and we have now doing a POC with a medtech company to make it make a digital product passport out of it, and then we can leverage AeroTrace to have that DPP, so to say.
Yeah. Thank you. And another question from the chat. It seems hardware engineers are not used to having traceability to requirements. I do not see the urgency there to have this connectivity. Why is this?
Can you repeat the question? If I understood, hardware engineers are not used to traceability with requirements.
Exactly, right.
Yes. So what can we do to make it better, or that was the question? Okay.
How could it be? I mean, what's the situation behind this?
Okay. Yeah, so it's like, more or less, if you are a programmer, you're writing code, it's then you're not interested in documentation writing. So it's basically, sometimes those things. But normally the hardware engineer, they are looking for some things, like some requirements that they are developing on. So what we have done in one of these cases, that we show them whenever they are designing, as a side note, that these could be the matching requirements on the basis of some of the factors that we have put in, which you can call it as a kind of a dummy AI. But what we have done is to see for example, if you are making a wheel, okay, designing a wheel as a hardware engineer or as a designer, when you write some things, so what we do is we show some of the things that or requirements that are related to that name as a suggestion, and then they just have to do the linking. I mean, some things have to be done, otherwise, it should be part of the process, I would say, to get that traceability and digital thread. So they need to be trained for that, and it is advantage for them in order to make better designs, and it helps everyone basically.
Time is running here, but I will pick one last question here, and then we could probably and hopefully have you still on the chat, and also some of the questions popping up here. That's good. Keep on posting the questions. What tools are companies using now to manage software ALM? What tools are we replacing? Is it Git or versions control, or what is it?
So this is a good question. So there is we have this misconception around ALM being only requirements management. But in fact, ALM is the whole software, as the name suggests, application lifecycle management. So we are talking about complete software development. And this could be, in this case, depending on what some people are using. For example, like you mentioned already, that someone using Azure DevOps or GitLab. So it's the combination of basically the tool chains that are being used. So there is no need to replace as such, because if you have, think about it, you have 100 developers working with Azure DevOps, and you come tomorrow and say, hey, we remove it. So we have to see when it makes sense to replace tools and when connectivity is the best solution, because it won't have. So as from the definition, we don't want to create a centralized data source. What we need to, or have everything in one, but what we want to have is different systems, but the data is from one source. So yeah, that's should be the idea behind that.
Thank you, Manan. And as I said, time is unfortunately running out for this webinar, but still, keep on posting your questions. And I'm sure that Jürgen and Manan will be here, answering all your questions popping up here, and that's good. So thank you for a fantastic session, Manan and Jürgen, and
sure.
Thank you for joining everyone here on the call. So with that, I hope to see you back next week on the PTC Talks again, with a session about the value of digital thread from engineering design to technical service content by Deb Williams and Simon Taylor from PTC. So with that, everyone, have a fantastic weekend and hope you get some good sun out there. Right. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.